Good evening. Now, if you read this hour through the eyes of the world, you will call it the end of something. End of work, end of noise, end of obligation. But if you let the heart do the seeing, you will find that night is not an end at all. Night is the altar prepared. Night is the appointed time. Night is when the clamor grows faint enough that the whisper at the center of your being can be heard. It is not the darkness that blesses you. It is the stillness. It is not that the world has finally become good. It is that you are bidden to retire from the world's sense and enter the inner sanctuary where goodness is native and unlabored. All day you and I have been trying to fix, to manage, to explain, to endure. Do not be ashamed of that. It is what the world trains us to do. But hear me. Healing does not belong to the province of trying. The battle is not yours. The salvation is not engineered by your cleverness, nor won by your suffering. There is, within and around you, a presence that does not strive, does not tire, does not sleep. If we insist upon carrying our little tools into the Holy of Holies, we will only clatter and disturb. The work of the night is the work of laying down the tools. Excuse me, let me say it more plainly. The work of the night is the work of not working. Your bed, then, is not merely a cushion for the body. It is a threshold. The pillow is the doorway to the inner sanctuary. When you come to it, you do not bring your storm. You come to watch the storm pass. You and I have learned, sometimes the hard way, that storms are not fought into silence. They are outweighted in silence. Stand ye still. Not as poetry, not as a brave phrase for wall hanging, as an instruction. Stand ye still in the heart, and see, not with eyes that measure wind and wave, but with that quiet awareness which knows that what God is present. And so tonight, when you turn down the cover and lower the light, expect no labor, expect no bargaining. We are not here to awaken a distant deity, nor to persuade a reluctant heaven. We are here to yield. There will be a single act, a single phrase, not to begin a campaign of striving, but to end it. One phrase, spoken once, as you would place a key upon a table and take your hand away. After it, intentional silence. Not vacancy, not a blank, the living stillness in which grace moves without your strain. Let there be no counting of repetitions, no ticking off of needs like items on a ledger. A simple surrender, and then the holy quiet that says, I trust. The presence that never sleeps keeps watch. You and I consent, and then we rest. And while we rest, the real work, God's work, goes on. Stand ye still, beloved, and enter. Now, let us make a correction, and let us make it plainly. The common mistake, the one that robs the night of its holiness, is that we take the day's battle into the bed and call it responsibility. We drag the ledger under the covers. We clutch the face, the bill, the pain, and we say, I must keep watch. No, no. Excuse me, but no. That is not watchfulness. That is fear dressed in duty's clothing. That is the world's training masquerading as faith. The Christ isn't honored by your worried vigil. The Christ is a divine state of consciousness, and it is not made more present because you grind your teeth over it. Effortlessness as effort, now please hear this, is not laziness. It is discipline of the rarest sort. It is the effort to relax from effort. It is the labor to cease laboring. It is the relinquishment of I-ness, I must, I ought, I will fix, I will manage. It is the graceful power of releasing the reins you never held. You do not do this by force, you do it by consent. You and I come to the edge of the bed and, we breathe a small obedience. I can of my own self do nothing. Not as a quote to be admired, but as a key that opens the inner sanctuary. Consider the storm. Sin, disease, lack, conflict. Do not rush out to meet them as if they stood there in the night with clubs in hand. They have no life in themselves. They are images, moving, whispering, threatening images, sustained by inner agitation, kept bright by mental motion. When you replay, you pay. When you rehearse, you reverse the work of grace. When you analyze, you energize the very picture you wish to see dissolved. The storm lives by your wind. Withdraw your wind and watch the clouds forget their shapes. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not a slogan, an instruction. Therefore, not by planning, not by pleading, not by bargaining, by yielding. Not by more notes, not by clever angles, not by heroic postures, by yielding. Not by argument with flesh, not by a spotlight on error, not by bracing the shoulders, by yielding. Each not by is a door you close. Each by yielding is the one door you leave open to God. And then we ask, how do I give this to God before sleep? You do not hand God information. Omniscience is not briefed. You withdraw consent from the storm. You retire the judge and the lawyer within. You dismiss the private jury of memory. You stop taking testimony from fear. You move the case out of personal jurisdiction into the court of divine law. And once the transfer is made, you do not run back into the chamber to whisper amendments. You leave it. You leave it because the presence never sleeps. You leave it because grace is operative without your participation. Let this be the reorientation of the night. The prayer is not a new attempt to fix life. It is the surrender of personal effort, so the storm passes without your participation. Put down the little hammer. Stop tapping at the universe. Place the single phrase like a key on the table. Take your hand away and be still. The battle is not yours, but God's. The watch is not yours, but the Christ's. Yield and rest. Now, before we place that key and take our hand away, let us look at the eye that looks. If you read through the eyes of the world, you will miss the great point. You will misread not only your day, but your night. Not only the faces of those you love, but the movements within your own breast. The world's eye is trained to accept the first report, sensation, image, rumor, and to elevate it to law. Excuse me, but the first report is nearly always wrong. The first report is the sound of wind in the eaves. It is not the voice of God. Night magnifies this. The house grows quiet, the light is low, and the mind, the bedside mind, begins to project slides upon the wall. Regrets you cannot edit, futures you cannot predict, dialogues you will never speak, diagnoses you do not hold. Do not honor these as prophecy. They are weather, mental weather. They pass across the sky of awareness, and if you grant them sovereignty, they raise their little banners and call themselves kings. But they are not kings. They are clouds. They are pictures without law behind them, motions without mandate, echoes without source. Remember, the storm lives by your wind. Withdraw your wind, and the flags fall limp. Who then reads rightly? It takes the wise men, not characters in a pageant now, but the illumined capacity within you that recognizes presence in a stable of circumstance. The authorities in you, the Herod mind of control, the priesthood of rules, the magistrate of memory, tremble when the Christ draws near. They fear their own unemployment. Let them tremble. Do not consult them. Call in the wise men, the quiet witness, the consent of the heart, the humility that kneels to what it cannot manage. These bring gifts, attention, stillness, homage, and they recognize what the senses overlook. A divine activity here, though wrapped in swaddling clothes of delay, pain, or lack. Now, spiritual discernment is not denial. We are not saying there is no pain with our lips while our body shouts otherwise. We are saying, you, appearance, are not final. We are refusing to grant ultimate authority to a report that has no divinity behind it. We are not blinding ourselves to a cliff. We are refusing to crown the shadow. We let the first report be the first report, and we wait for the second, Spirit's report. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Stand ye still, and let another seeing rise in you. And here is our bridge to the night's heart. You do not persuade a distant helper to take your case. The Christ is not a person you wake up. The Christ is a divine state of consciousness that never sleeps. Your part is not to argue it into action. Your part is to consent. Healing begins precisely here, when you stop conferring finality upon appearances and begin consenting to spiritual perception. Consent, and the wise men within bow. Consent, and the storm finds no wind. Consent, and you will discover that while you rest, reality keeps watch. Now let us say it as plainly as language allows. The Christ is not a man or a woman. The Christ is not a personality to be awakened, flattered, or employed. The Christ is a divine state of consciousness, impersonal, universal, indivisible. It is not of a destructive nature. No one need fear the Christ. It breaks no homes. It tears down no good. It threatens no rightful place. The only thing that trembles before the Christ is that personal sense in us which has loved to sit upon the little throne, which has fancied itself the manager of life, the decider of outcomes, the keeper of the night watch. Let it tremble. It must give way. The Christ is your own center, not owned by you, but constituting you in truth. The Christ is the presence at the center of your being. The Christ is the life that lives your life when you stop trying to live it by personal will. The Christ is the law of harmony, unfolding of itself where effort relaxes. The Christ is the light that lights every man and every woman coming into the world, even when swaddled in very humble circumstance. The Christ is the peace that passes understanding, not as a sentence in a book, but as a felt stillness that does not argue and does not fear. And hear this: the Christ never slumbers, never sleeps. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Therefore, you do not get God to work while you sleep. God is the presence that never sleeps. Your part is to yield to it. Why then is the night such holy ground? Not because God is nearer, but because the noisemaker in us grows tired. Personal sense loosens its grip. The doer relaxes. The little foreman of the mind stops pacing the scaffolds. In that loosening, there is room. Room for what has been true all day to be felt at last. The heart grows receptive, not by effort, but by the ceasing of effort. Excuse me, let me put it another way. The gates of the inner sanctuary do not swing open when you pound them. They open when you stand quietly at the threshold and stop pounding. Stand ye still and see. So the prayer of the night is not a petition to a distant deity. It is an act of homage to the impersonal presence within. Not homage to a memory, not homage to an image on a wall, but homage to the living Christhood that constitutes life itself. We bow, not theatrically, but inwardly, and we acknowledge, I can of my own self do nothing. We do not say it to win favor. We say it because it is true. In saying it, we lay down the scepter that was never ours. In saying it, we consent to be lived by what is wise enough to govern universes and tender enough to number the hairs. This is our core revelation and our rest. The presence keeps watch. The night does not appoint us as guards. It invites us to abdicate the post we were never fit to hold. Let the wise men within kneel. Let the Herod mind retire without ceremony. Let the heart give its small homage and be still. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Yield to it, and the liberty will announce itself, not by noise, but by the wordless assurance that, as you sleep, grace is about its own business. Now we come to the door, and we do not come with a battering ram of words. We come with a key, not a charm, not a spell, a key. Do not make the mistake ever of being satisfied with a statement of truth, as if words, by their being spoken, accomplish the work. The letter of truth, without the spirit caught and consented to, is dead. It kills. There must come, down in the region of the heart, an actual relinquishment, an actual bowing, an actual consent to be governed by what is already governing. So, hear the phrase, and hear it as a key laid down, not as a tool to be worked. Father, into thy keeping I surrender this night, this body, and this life. Say it once, slowly. Once, as you would hand a child to loving arms and take your hands away. Excuse me, let me say it more plainly. Say it as if you were setting a key upon the table and withdrawing your fingers. Not to persuade God, not to advertise your need, not to awaken a sleeping presence. Say it to release yourself from the fantasy of control. Say it to end the day's labor at the threshold of the inner sanctuary. Say it and let the little monarch step down from the throne. I can of my own self do nothing. This is the spirit of the phrase, and this is its efficacy. Immediately then, silence. Not vacancy, not waiting for a sign. Silence as consent. Silence as the bowed head of the soul. Silence as the wise men kneeling within. Be still and know. Not be still and argue. Not be still and estimate outcomes. Not be still and plan a better speech. Be still and know that the presence, which never sleeps, is already at watch. The power of this prayer is not lodged in the sound. It is lodged in the yielding that follows the sound. The phrase closes the door to striving. The silence opens the door to grace. But you say, the thoughts run, the mind rehearses. Do not wrestle them. Wrestling is wind. Wind feeds the storm. Let the thoughts pass as birds who discover no seed on your windowsill. If agitation returns, place the key once more, once, not a dozen times. Father, into thy keeping I surrender this night, this body, and this life. Then silence again. No counting, no measuring, No self-inspection to see if stillness is working. Stand ye still and see. The battle is not yours. Leave the field. Retire to the inner sanctuary. Let the presence be what it is. This is the practice. This is the end of effort. One phrase to end the day's noise. One silence to let reality announce itself. Do not attempt to finish the prayer with brilliant sentences. The prayer finishes you. The silence completes the prayer. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and liberty does not require your commentary. Place the key, withdraw the hand, and rest. While you rest, grace is about its own business, unhurried, unhindered, unopposed. And the storm, finding no wind in you, passes. Now, lie back. Let the body feel the bed, not in analysis, but in consent. Feel the pillow receive the head. Feel the sheet along the arm. Feel the weight of you drop, as if a small cord were cut. This is not hypnosis. This is obedience. Stand ye still, embodied. Let the shoulders descend from their posts. Let the jaw unfasten. Let the hands grow heavy as stones, returned to riverbed. Breathe, not as a technique, but as a rediscovery. Notice the breath enter without your management. Notice the breath leave without your command. The presence was breathing before you thought to help. Yield to that. Let the breath be what it is, unhurried, unhindered, unopposed. Now, name the storm once, not to feed it, but to withdraw your wind. This fear, this ache, this pressure, this unfinished day. Name them as you would recognize travelers on a road, then do not invite them in for counsel. Refuse the narration. Refuse the committee meeting. Refuse the little courtroom of explanations. Let it pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. Not as a push, not as a fight, but as permission for weather to move on. Storms are not laws, they are motions. They live by your wind. Withdraw, and their flags go slack. Be still now, and, for a minute, listen. Not with the ears that hunt for a sentence, but with the heart that recognizes a tone. If the still small voice rises, bow inwardly and say nothing back. If no voice is heard, rest anyway. Silence is not a blank. Silence is the sanctuary. The Christ is the presence that never sleeps. It does not require a sign to be itself. The battle is not yours. The report does not improve because you add commentary. Be still and know. Let the body be the sacrament of consent. Feel the back widen. Feel the bed take more of you. Let the eyes sink as if into warm water. Notice the small movements that try to reassert management. Notice them and let them pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. Each passing is not defeat, it is release. Each release is a knee bending within to what governs wisely without your help. I-ness steps down from its post. Presence remains at watch. We do not measure this. We are not here for fireworks. We are here for the shift, from personal sense to presence. If all you notice is a feather of quiet where there was gravel, that is grace at work. If all you feel is that the breath is no longer a project, that is grace at work. If all that occurs is that the storm seems less interested in being dramatic to you, That is grace at work. Do not ask the seed for fruit this minute. Consent to planting and rest. Again, we listen without strain. Again, we welcome the quiet without expectation. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Therefore, you may. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And liberty does not require your constant testimony. Let it pass. Let it pass. Let it pass. Stand ye still and see. In this inner sanctuary, the storm forgets its lines, the actors wander off stage, and the curtain falls of itself while you sleep. Now we take the specific, because the mind says, yes, stillness, yes, surrender. But what of this one? Hear me. Surrender is not forgetting the problem. Surrender is releasing it from personal management into divine government. We are not pushing it into a corner to grow mold. We are laying it on the altar where law, not opinion, presides. The court of personal jurisdiction closes. The court of divine law opens. Excuse me, let me make it very plain. You remove your hands and you stop returning to the scene to rearrange the flowers. Here is the method. Bring one burden to mind, not a committee, one. A name, a bill, a body part, a memory that stings. Do not narrate it, do not litigate it, do not dress it for the meeting. See it simply, silently, once. Then fold it into the key that we have been given. Father, into thy keeping I surrender this. And speak its simple name. And this night, this body, and this life. Once. Not for effect, for release. Then take your hand away. The proof that you have taken your hand away is that you do not keep touching it to see if it is safe. The touching is the wind. The touching keeps the storm bright. Now, with loved ones, the heart protests. But surely I must keep watch. Surely I must hold them up. No. You can love without attempting to be the source of life for them. You are not the savior of anyone. The Christ is not a person you hire to assist your caretaking. The Christ is the presence that never sleeps, the very life within them, the wisdom within them, the law around them. Love them by releasing them to what is already their life. Say within, into thy keeping I surrender this one, and mean it. Then do not sit bedside in your mind arranging their future. Stand ye still and acknowledge that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. For them, as for you. And with the body, your own or another's, remember, you are not its animating principle. The breath was moving before you thought to help. Every process has a law that is not your contriving. Place the symptom, by name once, into thy keeping. Place the fear, too. Then cease the internal tinkering. Personal sense demands signs by morning. It makes little bargains. If the pain is gone at 7, I will believe. Spiritual sense rests in the fact of presence now. It does not invoice God and then track delivery. It bows and it sleeps. As to memory, those old films that insist on a late showing, do not edit them. Do not defend yourself in them. Do not punish yourself with them. Recognize the title once, place it into thy keeping, and let the projector go dark. The past cannot be corrected by present agitation. Grace is not invited by your scolding. Grace is welcomed by your yielding. Immediately after naming, return to silence. No strategies, no mental follow-up letter. Silence is the act of trust. Silence is the signature on the transfer. If thoughts paw at the door, do not argue. Let them pass. Let them pass. Let them pass. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Therefore you may. The battle is not yours. The keeping is not yours. Place the key, withdraw the hand, and rest. While you rest, divine government governs. Now let us look with quiet honesty at why the night has so often been the friend of healing. It is not because you finally constructed the perfect sentence. It is because, while you ceased from your construction, grace continued with its own activity. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The watch is not yours. The watch is the presence. And so, as you withdraw the hand, as you let the wind go out of the storm, an order you did not manufacture begins to be felt, sometimes like a feather on the heart, sometimes like a dawn that you only notice after the room has brightened. Somewhere along the line, yours, mine, every soul's, grace touches. Not as fanfare, not as fireworks. Grace rarely rings the doorbell and announces its name. It steals in through the quiet door you left unlatched by surrender. It turns a thought without your argument. It unstiffens a fear without your lecture. It is like the tide that lifts all moored boats, though no one on shore can point to a hand pulling the ropes. The Christ is that tide, impersonal, universal, constant. And the night is simply when our little oars finally rest, so the lift can be felt. Why then does effort so often block reception? Because the personal mind insists on being project manager of the infinite. It measures, it times, it directs. It drafts memos to omniscience and waits for signatures. Excuse me, but that is noise. That is wind. And wind feeds the storm. The more you strain to feel peace, the more you confess the absence of it. The more you schedule grace, the more you deny its spontaneity. Release the pressure, and what was already true has room to be recognized. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not a quaint line, an operational law. Stillness is the vacancy in which grace occupies its rightful office. Do not demand that tonight resolve everything. Life is eternal, evolution is real, and spiritual evolution is the movement of identity from the brittle I into the yielding presence. Tonight may be the night the center shifts, a half inch, an inch, from agitation to a quiet trust. That is not nothing. That is everything. A seed does not erupt at midnight with a trumpet. It swells imperceptibly and breaks its shell in the dark. So with you and me. The shell of personal sense softens in stillness. By morning, something has yielded, and the root has taken hold. What is the evidence? Not data points, but experience. You open your eyes, and for reasons you cannot polish into a story, the weight seems lighter. The same body lies there, yet the clutching is gone. The same bill sits on the table, yet a new angle appears. A call comes to mind. A generosity you had ruled out arrives. The same name that yesterday tightened your jaw now elicits a tenderness you did not plan, an urge to bless instead of defend. A pain that bullied your attention has lost its authority. It may speak, but you do not salute. This is not your cleverness. This is inner government. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty shows itself as proportion returned, as fear unseated, as a willingness to take the small right step without drama. Let us be humble. Do not write your name across the mercy. Do not say, my affirmation did it, or my technique worked. I can of my own self do nothing. Say it not as a trope, but as the cleansing truth that keeps the channel clear. Give thanks, yes, give it quickly, give it quietly. But let the thanks travel to the source, not to the performer you once imagined yourself to be. Healing is not your achievement. It is the activity of the presence discovered when resistance fades. Therefore, tonight and every night, cease from your engineering. Place the key, withdraw the hand, and rest. Grace works in the night. Grace does not grow drowsy when you fall asleep. The Christ, the presence that never sleeps, keeps watch, and when you awaken, you will not have manufactured a miracle. You will have awakened to one, already prepared, already present, already enough. Stand ye still, beloved, and let grace do what only grace can do. Now there remains one thing, a small thing, yet not small at all. In every holy story, the birth of the Christ is recognized by a voluntary act. Not demanded, not priced, voluntary. The wise men brought gifts because the heart, recognizing what stands before it, must bow. It is a law of love. It is not the value of the gift, it is the homage. So with you and me at the bedside, let there be one tiny sign that the heart, not the mind, has consented. We do not perform for God. We do not decorate the night. We simply place a token upon the altar of the inner sanctuary, and by it, we say without speech, I yield. It may be as simple as placing a hand over the heart and letting it rest there until the hand grows heavy. It may be the whisper, once only, thank you, and then the lips close. It may be the release of the jaw you have held like a gate against the world. It may be to take, in this quiet, one name and forgive, really forgive, without lecture and without conditions. It may be to bless one who has seemed an enemy, to send them into the same keeping you have entered. It may be to let one grievance go, one, and feel, even slightly, the unclenching. These are little, yes, but the heart recognizes little altars. The heart knows when it has bent the knee. And please, excuse me, let us be clear. It is not the gesture that does the work. It is not the hand, not the whisper, not the loosening muscle. The symbol is a servant. The inward bow is the reality. We do not tip God with a courtesy. We do not bargain for a result. The act is not a transaction. It is a yielding. It is the laying down of arms for the night. It is the acknowledgement that the presence before which we bow was never born and never dies. That it has been keeping watch while we imagined ourselves the sentry. The little sign is our tithing of pride, our homage to impersonal Christhood. Do not make a superstition of this. Do not say, if I forget my hand, grace forgets me. No, the Christ is not a petty accountant. The Christ is a divine state of consciousness and needs no payment. But you and I, being humanly trained in management, sometimes require a hinge to swing the door upon. Let this tiny, voluntary act be that hinge, a turning from the outer to the inner, from personal sense to presence. Then, no more words. Let gratitude become quiet. Let the sign seal what the phrase began. Be still, and let the stillness widen until even the sign is forgotten. Stand ye still and see. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Therefore, you may. And in the hush that follows devotion, grace continues with its own holy business, while you rest. Now, beloved, this is the last instruction, and it is simple. Gather the thread. You have not tried to fix, you have retired. You have not argued for outcomes, you have surrendered. You have not chased signs, you have waited. You have not performed, you have honored. This is the true night work. This is the work that is no work at all, the effort that is the relaxation of effort. Excuse me, let me say it more plainly. What is required of you is the ceasing of your requirement upon God. Therefore, do not now spoil this with an audit. Do not lie there and grade yourself. Was my stillness still enough? Did I say it just right? Did I really let go? That is personal sense slipping in by the back door, taking attendance. If wakefulness lingers, we do not fight the clock. We do not fight the mind. We return to the key once. Father, into thy keeping I surrender this night, this body, and this life. Once, and then we lay the key down again. If the mind wanders, we do not scold. We do not call ourselves names. We do not start over with a whip. We return gently, as one who opens the fold and lets the sheep drift back without noise. Back to stillness. Back to the inner sanctuary. Back to the awareness that he that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Therefore, you may. Remember, the prayer finishes itself. You are not the finisher. I can of my own self do nothing. The Alpha and the Omega is not your personality. It is the presence that has been about its holy business before your first sentence and after your last breath. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the compulsion to manage. Liberty from the verdicts of appearance. Liberty from the tireless commentary that never healed a single soul. Stand ye still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not with squinted eyes, not with clenched teeth, with a yielded heart. So now, no more words. No more arranging of pillows in the mind. No more peeking to see if peace has arrived by the door. Let the presence keep watch. Let grace move as it moves, unhurried, unhindered, unopposed. Breathe as breathed, rest as kept. The battle is not yours but God's. The watch is not yours but God's. The night belongs to God. Let the prayer finish itself in silence. Let the silence hold you. Let the holding widen until even the one who was being held is forgotten, and only the presence remains, keeping watch while you sleep.